Welcome to Fellowship of the Binge. I'm Prerna, and this is my co host, Praapti, and we are obviously here to talk about the big finale. The Traitors has ended, and we have a lot of thoughts. So, we are going to talk about this full on, spoiler filled, all over the place because, we've just watched it, it's fresh in our heads, and a lot happened and a lot didn't happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's dive straight into it. Um, so we have our winners in Urfi and Nikita. What an unusual combination. I did not think we would end here, but this is how the cookie crumbles, as they say, or the traitors vote, or however. This game is so unpredictable. I love this format. Anything can happen, even at the last minute. And yeah, and how did the finale work for you overall?
Yeah, it was interesting. It was exciting. And I called it. I called an
You
innocent
did.
victory. So that was
Yeah.
fun. Yes. And also, definitely, I didn't think Urfi and Nikita would be the winners. So, like we've been saying, all season Traitors India season one has been unpredictable max, but it
Yeah.
has not disappointed.
Yeah.
We have enjoyed it, and yes, the way that it has ended with the last two contestants being Urfi and Nikita, I feel like it's a good end to the entire show. I feel first season.
Yeah, I'm not conflicted about it as such. I'm wondering if we come from a place of bias because we have seen the previous seasons. I had somebody text me saying that they were unhappy with how things panned out and things just kind of fell into place very conveniently. And I have some thoughts about that. But having said that, I have seen this play out over and over. Sometimes there is one innocent or faithful gets lucky. They stumble upon information, yeah, and they go with their gut, and they take somebody else who is not as good at the game with
Yeah,
them.
with them, that's true. That's
And they also
how
might not have been very good at the game. Sometimes they're just kept around because there is somebody's vote bank, like mostly a traitors vote bank,
100%.
and then they just end up winning the game. And it has happened before, and you just sort of have to live with the fact that sometimes you might like a character or like a player, but they might not win. It's just what happens
It's
in
just
this
how the
game.
die rolls.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting because I did call an innocent victory, but you expected a
Yeah.
traitor's victory. So how did you
Yeah.
feel about how it turned out in terms of
Okay, I think the traitors got quite far, and I feel like it was earned. Like the I'm not sure about Nikita, but sure, it's fine. Like she played
yeah.
a fairly safe game, and there were a few good things that she did. Like we were discussing earlier, we she stuck to the fact that there were
Yes.
two traitors. She was very sure about that, and I think that was the thing that she was surest of. The every all of her guesses were wrong though, but she also voted for Purav when over Sudhanshu, who at the Circle of Shock.
Yes.
So she does listen to some people. She did eventually listen to Urfi. She decided to trust her, and we saw that in that very clever edit that they did at the end, that they had a secret conversation. And
Yes.
yeah, I get it. Like she played however the best she could play coming late into this game. I don't think people gave her a lot of information either because they didn't trust her from the beginning.
Yeah.
There was an interview that Apurva gave, I think, somewhere where she said that
Yeah.
she felt resentful because each day felt like a month, and if she came in 3 days late, it felt like she missed 3 months of talks and play and everything, and then Nikita could never gel with a certain group.
That's true.
uh yeah, and maybe that worked out for her because she was
Yeah,
never
you're
kicked
right.
out.
Yeah, she wasn't
um
part of any group, so she wasn't part of
yeah.
any alliance, so she
Yeah,
didn't get to be a
and
target.
let's not forget she said no to the traitors.
That's
She
right.
said she wanted to be play as a innocent, and it worked out for her, so kudos to that.
And I think in the entire Traitors universe, that's always a brave, brave
Yeah.
move. It takes a lot to say no
Oh,
to a
honestly.
traitor recruitment.
We were not on board for this,
I
on
was
this move.
definitely. I don't think I'd ever
Yeah.
be okay with saying no to a
No.
traitor's recruitment.
Yeah.
But she stuck to her guns, so kudos to that. I
She
mean,
did.
I still can't understand why she did it, but it brought her here.
Yeah.
Must be good for her.
Yeah.
And my second point was that this is not a conventional season of the traitors.
No.
So this wasn't a straightforward standard everybody plays to win their best plays their best game to win kind of game. It was a
Yeah.
disruptive game. So
Yeah.
there was absolutely no it was not that the best player with the best strategy and the
Yeah.
best gameplay would be the winner. We saw that from the beginning. It was never going to be the best, most strategic player that would win. So in that, I guess it makes sense with Urfi and Nikita being the odd
To be fair,
couple
Urfi was
of
always
winners.
the has main character energy anyway through this entire game. Whether she puts it on herself or other people give it to her is another question. I mean, I thought that she, because she was playing the Love Island game with Harsh for a while, I wasn't sure. I thought that she would be one of those people who's just taken in by the traitor. Kudos to her for trusting her gut, for her gut telling her that something is not right here, and yeah, and then playing it slowly so that they people don't kick her out, people don't go against her. She
Yes.
kind of, I think her last 2 days she played the game quite well.
Yeah. Yeah.
um she had her eye on the prize, because apparently people think she's a loser or whatever her reasoning was for wanting the title. But sure, I mean, whatever, she had her eye on the prize and she won. And
Yeah.
you can't discredit, she won because of moves she made. It's
Yeah.
not that she just won because she was taken in by other people. She's the reason that Nikita won.
Right. Right.
So so she made
100%.
moves.
She made it
Yeah,
happen. She
she made moves. She made
definitely.
it happen for herself.
Yeah.
And you have to give her credit for that, however
One.
chaotic her game may have been
Oh
throughout.
man. Oh man, it's been
Yeah.
chaotic is not even it's not even it's an understatement, I would say. But
Yeah.
you're right. She was playing the she was playing the game as with main character energy. She's rubbed enough people the wrong way. There was not one single episode where Urfi was not loud and visible and audible.
Yeah.
So um it worked out for her. I think one of the things that is said where she says in one of her video rise ki उर्फी इतनी आगे आ गई है गेम में सिर्फ हर्ष की वजह से, right? She uses that as a bit in. I think it was very cleverly edited as well. In fact,
Yeah.
she was twinning with Harsh on Brekkie, so
Yeah.
full Love Island scenes
Yeah.
happening. But on a serious note, I feel one of the other things that was said on this episode where someone's like, Urfi has played the game well. That somehow didn't sit with me for some reason, because I feel like playing well looks
Yeah.
different to me for some
Yeah.
reason. So I don't know if she played the game well, but
I
she
don't know
definitely
even.
won. And I'd love to break down, one of the many things that she did to
Yeah.
win.
To
Like
win.
I'm
Yeah.
not the biggest fan of Urfi, but like she
No.
won and she won fair and square. So
Yeah.
props for that.
Yeah.
In
Same.
that, yeah,
She was not my favorite by any means, but because honestly she has played a too chaotic a game and too wishy-washy a game sometimes. Like, she would turn on people left and right with no particular reasoning, sometimes just emotionally. So I won't call that a very strategic or very thoughtful game, but she won, so you
she
can't
won.
take that away from
Yeah,
her.
yeah. I definitely
uh
think one thing that served her well, which I don't know if she did by design. I don't think she did by design, but how she made that girl group with Apurva and Jannat in the car on the first
yes.
day, and
Yeah.
how that almost extended with Apurva's almost compartmentalization from at least Urfi, and then the inclusion of Jasmine, where it
Yeah.
became Jasmine, Jannat, Apurva being the vote bank. We've talked about this before.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, with Urfi in the center of that
Yeah.
group, also linked
Yeah.
to Harsh, who was also then linked to Purav Raftar.
Yeah.
So it actually, in the game, it placed Urfi pretty
Yeah.
well in that big vote bank.
Definitely.
So I don't think she did it by design, but it worked out really nicely for her in the end. And I will say GG. So fair play.
Yeah. Fair play. I think, I mean, we got a little sidetracked
Yeah.
through my own this thing, but your question was basically because I was I was, I
Yes.
wanted a traitor win. Was I happy? Yeah, I won't say I was sad. It would have been fun to see maybe Harsh win at the end. Even any, I would have been fine with Purav winning either. But to be honest, he played very stupidly in the last 2 days. So if Harsh took the whole thing, it would have been fun to see Urfi's face. I think they would have deserved. He would have still sort of deserved it. Although
Yeah.
I'm very on the fence about a recruited traitor comes in really late
Yeah.
and wins. I don't think it's really fair. But whatever. Yeah, I was okay with him. If Pura wasn't winning, to be honest, I think I was okay with Harsh not winning. And Pura was unanimously voted out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was fine with it. I was quite entertained with this cast in general.
Yeah.
So I don't think I was that bugged about, if it was a spectacular traitor game that, that then was found out for some reason or something, then I would have felt really bad. But I
You
feel
mean like
like
when Elnaz went?
I don't know if it was a spectacular traitor game in her
Yeah.
sense as well,
Yeah.
but that's what I'm saying. They were good traitors, but I don't know if I've seen better traitor games played. Not to say that these were not a
Good.
good. It
Yeah.
was not a good traitor game. It
Yeah.
was, but I was okay with it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was entertained in this finale. It was fun.
Yeah.
Obviously, if we start from the top, Apurva goes as we had predicted.
Much
There was
that
no
we
way
didn't
that.
want Purva to go, and we were hoping that Urfi will write Harsh's name.
Yeah.
Purva went, yeah. But it was
Yeah,
no
but
surprise
she
to anyone. Yeah.
casts her shadow even in this finale.
100%.
Something she says to Urfi comes back, to her,
Yeah,
and it works in Urfi's favor.
that's
And
right.
it's interesting to note that they hated each other, but Urfi remembered what Apurva said to her more than anything.
Before we get into that, actually, very quick point I want to make, which I picked up
Yeah,
from what you were saying, is the way people played. So you're right, like in the last 2 days, Urfi's game became a lot more composed
yeah,
almost. She just trusted herself,
yeah.
went straight in. There seemed like there was clarity for the first time. I'm thinking of Urfi from that episode where she talked about her dream. And she dreamt that Purav and
Oh
Elnaz were traitors that day, and Ruftar or
yeah,
Mahip. I
yeah.
think it was Mahip. And from
It was
that,
Mahib. Yeah.
that Urfi to this Urfi, there was such a trajectory of almost growth, I want to say.
There was. It
And
was
and
fun to see her play strategically.
exactly, and the exact opposite strategic trajectory for Purav, and
Oh
actually
my
even
god.
Harsh.
Yeah.
Purav was
I think
very.
Harsh was just kind of caught up in things. Obviously, Harsh made some very bad moves at the end.
Yes,
But
I
yeah,
agree. I agree. So just how it was perfect timing where Urfi was in that upward
yeah,
trajectory of playing the game where Purab had not made a mistake. He did not make a single mistake until this one time in this
yeah,
episode where he's talking to Harsh, where he would never talk to his fellow traitor. And I have become very upset about Purav not interacting with Elnaz at all
yeah,
in the castle. And this is where Purab slips up. Of all the mistakes he makes, I guess it was, and I could see the human side of him. It was
yeah,
really, really, really getting to him. It was almost hard, almost to empathize after
yeah.
all
It
that he
was.
had done.
Yeah,
But I feel for the man, like, he's human. He's a human being at the end of the day, and it really
yeah,
got to him. So his gameplay, which was pretty flawless, he hadn't made a mistake. Um, and then suddenly it dips. And with Harsh, I could see that he was just desperate to save
flailing. Yeah,
himself because
yeah, yeah.
the
It's a
defenses he was
drowning
giving,
man.
yeah, it,
Yeah,
it was just sad. He was giving
yeah,
really bad defenses at Circle of Shuck, and
yeah.
then at the vote out where you have to put
At
the
the vote
pouch and
out.
write the name.
Yeah,
Harsh was just, I was like, somebody save him. This is not
awful.
the Harsh we know
Yeah,
we've seen through the game. Like, we've seen
no.
a very confident, very
Yeah,
composed, very logical team player in Harsh. So it was really interesting to see these trajectories, almost opposing trajectories of
yeah.
these players who were very important towards the end.
The traitors thing really threw him off. Like I had said this
Yeah,
in an earlier episode that I wasn't sure that Hart should win.
yeah,
I was more uncertain about Purav, but I was sure that Harsh would win because it seemed to really throw off his game.
Yeah.
I can understand. I mean, you play as a
100%.
faithful, as an innocent for so long, and then you just have to flip and play as a traitor. It's really hard. Very
Yeah.
few people can do it. We've seen it done, but very few people can do it.
Right.
But I just think that, yeah, I don't know what they were thinking. I think it's just that there were so few people
Yeah.
in the palace that they let their guard down and they were too cocky. At least
Yes.
Purab was too
Purav was.
cocky.
Yeah.
Purab
I
was too
think,
cocky. Harsh was not,
no,
but
I
because
think with
Harsh
Harsh,
was still upset that Purab had voted for
yes.
him.
Yes. I
But
think
Purab
Harsh,
got too cocky.
yeah, Harsh got the raw end of the stick, in my opinion.
Yeah, he
His
did.
his
Yeah.
game was flying. He was at his peak
Yeah.
when he got recruited, and
Yeah.
I think
Blackmail,
everyone you
actually.
and you're
I
right.
think, yeah.
You are right. And I think from the time he was blackmailed,
Yeah.
he got the raw end of the stick. It was the
Yeah.
hardest for him. And I will still say props to him for even making it to the extent
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how far he got. And I will
Absolutely.
give like that Urfi Love Island partnership that they had is what brought him there also.
Yeah.
It's a two-way street, I think, for both of them in the game. It served them
Yeah.
really really well, and it was not easy for Harsh to get to even get that far. So I will
That's
give
true.
him credit because I think he had the hardest set of cards
Yeah.
to play. And Purav was, while he came with good intent towards Harsh, he it was very clear where his allegiance was. Like, it
Yeah.
was clear
Yeah.
he was there. He was murderous and wanted to win alone if he could, and then worry about
Yeah.
Harsh.
Yeah. I
He
mean
was looking
that
out for
that
himself
that
before.
traitor
Yeah.
tower was awkward.
Yeah.
AF. I mean,
Yeah.
Harsh calls him out, and then Purva was flailing almost. He's like,
Yes. That was
I'm
Purav's worst
sorry.
defense. It was his
Oh,
worst
that
defense.
was barely a defense.
Yeah,
I was
and
just like, मैं क्या कर सकता था
आप
मेरे
समझो ना,
को
आप समझो.
आप समझो ना.
Uh,
So I mean, I think
I
Harsh
love.
gave up at the end, but he wasn't very sure that Pura will stick by his side
No, he. I think he
later.
was. I think he called. I'm really happy that he called out
Yeah,
Purav's BS, and he said in the video diary कि ये भी हरामी है. Like he knew that Purav will throw him. He threw him under the bus already on the chance that he
exactly,
got.
exactly.
So I think Harsh was clear, and had that not happened at the Circle
Yeah,
of Shock with Apurva, Harsh would not have voted Purav out with Urfi.
probably.
It was not.
Yeah,
Harsh had zero amount of conflict. And
yeah.
Purav, you're right, absolutely cocky at the Circle of Shock that Harsh to mujhe voting nahi karega. He didn't see it coming.
Not at all
He
because
did not see it coming.
he
He was
kind of
confident.
laughed.
He
Yeah,
laughed. He was confident that
yeah.
he had Harsh. He had
Yeah,
no
he
fear.
had
And
Urfi. Yeah, he was just really
yeah.
confident,
And
and
Harsh had
that's where
zero
you
conflict
falter in the
because
game.
yeah, and Harsh had zero conflict because Purav had already screwed him over the
Yeah,
previous Circle of Shock. So he's like, any opportunity I get, I'm gonna throw
yeah.
him out.
The
Yeah.
worst thing is that I feel like they almost had it, and then
Yeah. They could
it was taken
have.
away by their own stupidity,
Yeah.
because
100%.
they obviously killed Jasmine and they pinned it on Sudhanshu because he was suspecting Sudhanshu, and then they seeded that whole thing through breakfast, and it seemed to be working because everybody
It
was
did.
like, "Aaj to Sudhanshu hi jayenge," and the thing is that now that we couldn't at this point in the game, in most seasons you're not allowed to say whether you're a traitor, confirm whether you're a
Yes.
traitor or innocent. You just have to go with your gut, and it becomes a much harder play for the innocents.
Yes.
So yeah, the same thing played out in the India version,
Yeah.
unsurprisingly. And yeah, and they happen to have a conversation in a billiard room. The two main things that we wanted to highlight in this entire finale that changed the outcome of this game were basically they going really hard at Urfi to push Nikita and Sudhanshu's name, and
Yeah.
Urfi just clocking it.
Yeah. So I think Purav started talking to Urfi and
Yeah,
going crazy, like gunning after Sudhanshu.
yeah,
And Urfi's like, he's never gunned for anyone. What is this even? And then Harsh
yeah,
comes in and says the same thing कि Sudhanshu Urfi आपका नाम ले रहे हैं तो अब तो हम Sudhanshu पे ही करें because I know
yeah,
you are innocent.
yeah,
And इतने पे बोल के भी छोड़ देता तो ठीक था.
yeah,
But they spent a decent amount of time and it was such a hard sell that Urfi is like, what is this even? Like,
yeah,
nobody has gone in with this much conviction on anyone
yeah.
this
They
entire
didn't even
season.
need to do any
They
of
didn't need to
that.
do any of that.
They like she
And
would have been. by their side, she could have just said that, "Ha, matlab we are voting for this. We think
Yeah.
that he's a
Yeah.
traitor,"
Yeah.
and she would have believed them. But they went so hard at her that she immediately suspected something, and
That was
then she took
enough.
her shoes off and slunk off, and then overheard their conversation. And I have you seen this before? I have not seen this
I
before,
have not
but
seen
it's actually
this
really
very
brilliant.
this
Um,
blatant overhearing of
yeah,
a tactic.
yeah, her
Uh,
taking her heels off and going and,
Perfectly done.
very
Beautifully
well
done.
done. So this is where Urfi changes the game for herself, for Nikita.
For the
Um,
innocents.
yeah, for the innocence. She overhears Purav talking about how, she would want to end the game at the end, and then they will just vote her out and they will win. And yeah, we thought that she had, obviously she goes to Harsh about it. At that point we thought that she'd only clocked Purav, but we had our suspicions that,
Yeah.
she wanted to use Harsh to go after Purav and then get Harsh at
Yeah.
the end.
I was so not confident in Urfi, and Urfi, I'm sorry, but good call, GG, like I
Yeah,
said, but I was so not confident in her after even having heard the conversation between Harsh and Purav, because
yeah,
you had the dream. Urfi had the dream that it was Elnaz and Purav. She did nothing about it. She was agreeing with Jasmine ki Harsh hi
yeah,
hai, and then did nothing about it. And I was like, this is one more of those where, the traitors have been served to you on a platter, but you're doing nothing about it.
yeah, you are
And
overheard a conversation.
like, thank you for not stuffing it up and just bringing
Yeah,
home the win for the innocent.
not only did you not stuff it up, you also brought in another person
Yeah, very sensibly
trusted
done.
who you trusted, said that, okay, we'll just kick out all these men who we don't trust. We think that these two are traitors, and we're not sure about Sudhanshu. So we'll just, I trust you, you trust me, and we'll take the win at the
if I
end.
if I ever get the opportunity, I do want to pose this question to Urfi and Nikita. They've obviously had a conversation. They
Yeah.
know Urfi knows for a fact that Purav and Harsh are traitors. Why did they throw
Why did
out
they kick
Sudhanshu?
out
Yeah.
Sudhanshu?
I want
Yes.
to hear from the horse's mouth, and if everyone's listening and anybody knows the answer, please put it in comments. If you have theories or hypotheses, please put that
Yeah.
in the comments, because I want to know
Or Urfi
why
Javed, please tell us. Or
why
Nikita.
did you
Yeah.
throw out poor old Sudhanshu, who could have just had a little bit of the pot? Because
I
clearly
was
nobody's
fine with
doing this
him
for the
not
money.
winning. I was fine. He was just the stupidest of
He
the.
had Purav on the platter.
Yeah.
I will not harp on it anymore.
Yeah, he did. So, if you don't know what we're talking about, watch our previous video, watch our short about why he is probably the worst innocent ever. But yeah, he has not done very well in this game. He has not clocked one person correctly. He was suspecting Urfi right at the end, and he was so sure about it, and he had such illogical explanations
Yeah,
for
it was a bad
this.
explanation.
Awful. So I don't know. I mean,
But
such stupid innocence should also not win. I
But you know
I
what?
mean,
This was a standard round table, and had Urfi not heard the conversation, it would have been him blaming Urfi, 10 people blaming Urfi. Like,
yeah,
Sudhanshu would have blamed Urfi,
yeah,
Nikita would have blamed Urfi, Pura
yeah.
and
Oh,
Harsh would
absolutely.
have
Which
defended
is what
Urfi
I'm
and said
saying. If they
Sudhanshu.
hadn't talked loudly at the billiards table, and or they haven't gone that hard at Urfi, Urfi would
Yes,
have had no reason to overhear the conversation, and
100%.
then she would
Sudhanshu
not
would have been
have
voted
played
out.
the game. Yeah,
Yeah, Sudhanshu would have been voted out, then Nikita would have gone, or
yeah,
Urfi would have gotten played.
yeah. By the two traders.
So
So
good
I
stuff. Good
so
stuff.
they ruined their own game. I would say Pura ruined his own game.
Yes, I would put it on
Um,
Purav as well. But a quick acknowledgement of the deification of the detonation of the traitor's
yeah,
symbol task. Again,
yeah,
another beautifully adapted, uh, typical traitors game adapted to
challenge,
the
yeah.
desi setup.
So nice in the Rajasthan
Beautifully
desert.
done. Beautifully
Beautiful.
done.
Also awful game by Sudhanshu.
I was gonna say
He, yeah,
he did nothing to contribute
no,
to that. He just stood in
no.
one
He's
corner
like,
and complained
मुझे
and
नहीं दिख रहा है,
ये वाला
मुझे
वो
इतने बड़े pieces है, dude. Like, कैसे नहीं दिख रहा है तुम्हें? मतलब, those
नहीं दिख
poor
रहा है तो
people are dragging
yeah,
stuff, and he's
find a
just like,
way. Yeah, find
उसको
a way to
उधर रखो,
contribute.
उसको उधर रखो.
हाँ. so non-clear in his
Awful.
communication. It was just
Yeah. He
useless.
couldn't even do this.
Yes, and he was so
So,
also like defeatist attitude कि अब तो ट्रेटर्स इतना स्मार्ट गेम खेल रहे हैं, हम तो जीत ही नहीं सकते, तो इनोसेंट्स के लिए है, you know, just the self deprecation and the
I know.
negativity of
Yeah.
giving up in the game at the final
Yeah, it
stretch is
doesn't sit
just
well. Yeah.
off putting, to be very honest.
Yeah. Completely agree.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the challenge. I just thought that they couldn't even win that.
yeah.
They have not been very great at the challenges. To
That's
be fair
right.
to them, a lot of them have been social games, and those are
Yeah,
just like designed to
yeah.
put you in dilemmas that you cannot possibly win from.
Yeah.
You mostly choose yourself. But even the physical challenges or the train one that was at the beginning, they failed at that also. I mean, that was so
दो और दो
easy.
पाँच.
Didn't Sudhanshu fail at that?
No, actually, Sudhanshu was the only one who said, but दो और दो पाँच होता है. And someone
And then
in
his
that
whole
just
team failed at it.
failed. Then we go back to Purav, and one of the observations I had during Circle of Shock was when Urfi was saying, Purav, तुमने बहुत बढ़िया एक्टिंग की है. And he's like, नहीं नहीं, मेरे से भी better actors हैं, वो चले गए, this that. And she's like,
Yeah,
no bro, you acted really well. This is
yeah,
done. And you can see him loving the compliment, gloating about the compliment, because I think he was so full of himself कि मेरे को तो vote out. उर्फी ने बोल दिया कोई बात
yeah.
नहीं, Harsh is not voting for me, these we are all
I
voting
don't
for Sudhanshu.
understand where the
So
misplaced confidence came from.
yeah, he was just so
He's been
full of
really
himself.
cautious, but he's been
Yeah,
really cautious of this
yeah,
whole game. I
yeah.
don't understand what the last 2 days did to him.
I think they just broke him. He genuinely had that feeling and bond with Apurva that he was talking
Yeah,
about that really shook him and made him
yeah,
feel slightly human about the game rather than just being cutthroat
yeah.
and being like, I don't care, I need to win.
Because
So I
after
think
that, his
that
behavior was really erratic as well.
he became
He was like,
soft.
no, he was
Yeah,
also floating around the palace,
that's
uh,
true.
doing strange things. So maybe we should ask him this question as well. So, what happened in the
Yeah.
last 2 days? Yeah, I think, how is there anything else specifically that you want to discuss? I think one thing that we should discuss here is the final circle around the fire. And Harsh's absolute nonsense game at that. I mean, I can
100%.
understand Sudhanshu putting in the green thing because Sudhanshu has not understood the game.
So Sudhanshu
But
did not get the game till the
no,
last minute.
Sudhanshu has not understood the
100%.
game. Fine, whatever. Like, you are one of the innocents who have not understood the game. But Harsh understands the game. Why would you put in a green thing at the start?
I
You
think that
have to get one person out.
he was
You
desperate. It was clear as day that
Desperation, yeah.
he was doing that in desperation. He was
Yeah.
uh properly unfazed. He was just had blind faith in Urfi, but he was just like, I need to get this over with right now. He was
Yeah.
losing his mind. He had lost his
Mind.
composure.
Yeah.
You could see his demeanor was not,
Yeah.
I got this confidence, like
No, not at
it was
all.
not. It was he was just like all over the place.
Yeah.
So it was just very unfortunate. And
Yeah,
the
his
explanation he gave,
explanations were so strange. मुझे उन पे 5% का शक था तो मैंने सोचा उसको जाने दो. What does that even mean? How can
no.
you, if you have 5% का शक, you're supposed to vote them out?
Yeah.
That is really silly.
Yeah. It was very
So
disappointing from Harsh in the end, but I
yes,
guess it happens to the best of them, clearly.
yeah, it
And
does. It's a
I'm
powder
not
keg of a
complaining.
game,
Yeah, and I'm
honestly.
not complaining if it means the innocents won. So it worked for me, I'd say.
Yeah, you loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it worked. I just think that that was a spectacularly stupid move,
Yeah.
right at the start. I think there was still a way to. I think Urfi was too far gone by then. She was absolutely sure that Harsh was traitor.
Yeah. Thank God for
Um,
that.
but we have seen times when people have been manipulated right at the end also.
Yeah, I'll tell you what,
So
I want to credit Jasmine for Urfi's victory because thank God Jasmine wasn't there to talk to Urfi because she would
yeah,
have said some bullshit and swayed Urfi and distracted Urfi from uh,
that's true.
what she
Yeah,
knew. I was so skeptical, my God, because Urfi has had it on a platter so many times that I was like, it's
yeah,
not 100% given that she will win and the innocents will win because you never
yeah.
know how these people just get distracted.
I know.
So super happy for that.
Yeah, me too. Overall, I think it was a good finale for
Yeah,
the end. It's always a, it's always a crazy game, and the last few episodes are the craziest of the lot, and the finale always feels like, I don't know, like a, I'm not saying it feels like a letdown, but it always feels like a little bit of a softer landing.
that's right. That's right. Because
um
all the drama happens right before that.
Yeah,
So
unless
it's not.
it's a spectacular win. We've seen that happen as
We've
well,
seen that
where
happen. Yeah.
like a traitor has won, and it's been absolutely just mind-boggling. We've seen that happen. So
Yeah.
I'm not saying that finales are always up and down like this. And I do think that this finale had great moments.
Yeah.
Urfi listening
Yeah.
in on the
Yeah.
traitors conversation is not something
100%.
I would have anticipated, and then playing her game accordingly. You
100. It was a
know,
slam dunk from there, and
yeah,
she finished the move
yeah,
with a bow on it. Perfectly done. So I
yeah.
think, you know, I still don't think it's a bit of a slump. It's just because we had such a high in the last two
Yeah,
sections of the trilogy of episodes that, we're feeling a little bit. And I think that's just an edit thing. If
yeah,
the
maybe.
if episode 7, 8, 9
Yeah,
had been released as episode 7 and 8, and then 9 and finale had been together,
yeah.
we would have still
It
have
would have
been in
been
that
as
high
high.
space.
You're
So
right.
I
Yeah.
think it's just an edit issue and not a season issue.
No,
And I just want to go out on a limb and say Traitors India season 1 has been brilliant. It has
it
delivered.
has.
And now that we've watched the entire thing, we're
Yeah,
satisfied and hungry for more.
yeah. Absolutely. I cannot wait for season two. If people haven't watched it, this is a great time. All the episodes are out. If you can avoid spoilers, do avoid spoilers. But it's a brilliant, messy, strategic, drama filled game full of really interesting characters and one liners and absolute laugh out loud moments. I've laughed really hard
Yes.
in some of the things that these people have said to each other, and I've also been in awe of some moves, and I've also been cheering for people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's brought me to all sorts of emotions, and there are very few reality shows that can do that, and I feel like we were not very sure about how Traitors India would be,
Yes.
and it's been great.
It
And
has.
kudos to the team and to Karan Johar for bringing his flair to it, and we cannot wait for who they cast in the next Traitor season. If people are thinking of applying, they should. It might have given people PTSD, but it's great fun to watch.
It's a great
um
viewing
yeah,
experience. I will agree.
yeah.
I do want to
So
give a shout out to the
yeah,
production team, BBC India and Prime India.
yeah,
Brilliant, brilliant. I think brilliantly done in terms of production
amazing.
value. So,
That palace is gorgeous.
right, right.
Absolutely
Absolutely
stunning.
stunning and absolutely not letting down in contact on the context
No,
of all the international seasons of Traitors. I think
yeah,
India
he's
Traitors is right
one of the
up there.
best.
One of
Yeah,
the best.
and
So
I'm so impressed. I
very
didn't think that it
impressive.
would be one of the best, and we have
Yes.
seen a lot of Traitors. Trust us.
Yes.
It is honestly one of the best, both
Absolutely.
in gameplay, production design,
All of it. All round.
all of it,
Yeah.
drama. It's all there.
Casting.
Yeah,
Casting. Huge shout out to casting. Our host is right up
yeah.
there doing the
When Urfi's crying,
Urfi's
oh my
crying when
god.
Jannat has died. It's
Oh,
just love it. Love
yeah,
that's what you expect your Traitors host to bring. So
yeah.
Karan Johar has aced his role perfectly and brought this spectacular season to a brilliant close. Thank
I'm
you.
sad it's over. I'm super happy that it was good.
Yeah, this has just been such a fun month watching Traitors and reviewing it and starting our own
Yeah,
podcast. So, brilliant wrap to
yeah,
fantastic Traitors season 1 in
yeah.
India.
And and I know the finale might have been divisive, as it I think brought about conflicting feelings for us as well. So, comment below to tell us what you thought, whether you liked who won, who could have done what differently. Yeah, we would love to hear from you.
Or who
And,
you thought
if,
should have won.
yeah, or that.
Yeah.
And stay tuned for next week. We will sort of do an overview of the season as a whole. and we'll talk through some of our feelings about it. And yeah, and we'll do some fun bits about who played what best, or who did what worst. So stay tuned for that. Like and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon, and so that you know when that video has dropped. And yeah, we'd love to do more of these. So I hope that this has been as fun for you as it was for us.
Yeah, and thanks for watching Fellowship of the Binge.
Bye.